Well, day 5 of the horror challenge is over, and I've got in 3 movies. Slowed up a little bit, but when you hear what I watched, you'll understand why. I've got, first up, I watched the Dan Curtis directed House of Dark Shadows. Of course, this is the Jonathan Frid plays the vampire Barnabas Collins, based on the TV show that ran for, I don't know, 300 or 400 episodes in the 70s. Soap opera kind of format, really not a lot going on. This is a hyper accelerated theatrical release. I think they spent about $750,000 on it, with Jonathan Frid and Thayer David, who I really like, is a great actor. The way he enunciates, he's kind of the, for lack of a better term, the Van Helsing, if you will. Thayer David, if you don't know who that is, he's got he's got large lips, really interesting looking face. He played the albino in Eiger Sanction that sends Clint Eastwood off on his mission. And then he played, interestingly enough, probably if you remember this, the boxing promoter in the first Rocky movie. Anyway, I love the way he enunciates words, and he's a good antagonist to Jonathan Frid. This is a Dan Curtis directed film, and Dan Curtis, of course, directed the classic Night Stalker movie with Darren McGavin, and he also directed. Well, he's done a lot of movies, but the other one I think is notable is the Dracula version with Jack Palance, which I think is an underrated version of Dracula as well. I love this movie. Of course, I grew up with this kind of stuff in the 70s. And this is right up my wheelhouse. It's a fast-paced Dracula movie. You know, Dan Curtis has a unique style. It's almost like a TV documentary style, but it has enough gothic elements and feel to it. Those two concepts combined make it a very unique directorial style, I think. The docudrama gothic, for lack of a better term. And this one, Frid, Barnabas Collins, they basically he's a sympathetic Dracula. He doesn't want to be Dracula. He doesn't want to be a vampire. He meets a professor that thinks she can cure him, and starts giving him injections, which of course fail with disastrous results. But it's a really fast-paced and there's some scenes in here that, the staking of the vampire girl and a number of things here that make it a pretty scary little feature film. I enjoyed it a lot. It's 7 out of 10. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of special features on this puppy. I hate these. I don't know. Is there anybody that likes echo cases? I don't know if there's anybody, but I wish they had a commentary or something on this thing. All it's got is a theatrical trailer, but what can you do? Next up is Arrow's release of Bloodbath. Wow, where to begin? I actually watched. So it comes in. First off, it comes in this box. It's got a great booklet which covers. Essentially, it covers really a little bit a feature on William Campbell, who starred in all 4 films. Patrick McGee, who's a tremendous character actor, who's in Clockwork Orange. And Sid Haig, who you probably won't recognize. This is a very young Sid Haig with a beard and hair. But yeah, he was in the last 2 of the Bloodbath films. So this is the most convoluted film. Oh yeah, sorry, I got a poster too, which I don't know. I haven't decided. I don't know where I would hang it actually, but I like the poster. I'm just not sure where the hell to hang the thing. Something's going to have to give. Anyway, I watched all. This film was made and re-edited 4 different times. So the story goes Roger Corman was in Dubrovnik, Yugoslavia. And well, first off, he was starting at a point in that career where he was seeing some interesting European and Russian movies that he thought he could buy cheap, repackage to American audiences. And he found this movie called Operation Titian. I keep wanting to say Titian. Operation Titian. It was a Yugoslavian film noir spy thriller film with Patrick McGee and William Campbell. It's not a horror film at all. It truly is a kind of a murder mystery film noir, but it's shot on location in Dubrovnik, Yugoslavia, and it's beautiful sets. I mean, very, very gothic, moody sets. I mean, it's gorgeous to look at, but it was a long-winded story, and it's I think in watching it, you kind of realize that when I finished watching the movie, I was like, well, you know, if I was Roger Corman, I would probably cut, I don't know, 15 minutes out of this and make this an 80-minute movie. There was too much static talking scenes, and a little bit too much scenery. I mean, it was great scenery, but I mean, we're not watching a documentary about the Dubrovnik, Yugoslavia. It's supposed to be a movie, a murder mystery. So I slipped in film 2, which was the edited version of what he tried to do with Operation Titian, and lo and behold, without even knowing it, I guessed perfectly right. Now we got an 80-minute feature. And that film was Portrait in Terror. Yeah, Portrait in Terror, which was basically Operation Titian cut down to 80 minutes. Both films are film noir. They were not horror films at all. And they were centered around this attempt to steal a very expensive and famous portrait by the artist Titian. And actually, that's a real piece of artwork. Apparently, it sold for like $15 million in the 50s. So you've got guys trying to steal this piece of artwork and find it, and then you've got two Americans that are trying to chase down and stop them, and then you've got some murder thrown in. Basically, both those two films are, film noir murder mysteries. Now, fast forward, and I think realizing after watching the second one, re-edited, I'm still thinking, if I'm the producer looking at this thing, I'm thinking, well, I just don't know if American audiences are going to really warm up to this. So ironically, I think the third film is called Bloodbath, which is what the box set was titled. And that was essentially a whole new film. They went 180 degrees and edited like 20 minutes of some of the more interesting scenes from the first two films and inserted that into a whole entirely new plot centered around, really, it's kind of a spin-off of, if you've seen Roger Corman's Bucket of Blood, about the artist that kills people. That's what Bucket of Blood, that's what Bloodbath was. Bloodbath was simply a rehash of A Bucket of Blood. You've got a group of beatnik actors, artists, and then you've got William Campbell as an artist, and he's a killer. He's basically puts people in wax figures and kills them off. But there's vampire elements to it. So this is and it was only like 61 minutes, a very taut 61-minute film. And I think that's the best version of all four. The fourth one, called Track of the Vampire, was Bloodbath with 20 minutes of filler. And it really was. I mean, there's an 8-minute sequence of a guy in a cloak and a hat trying to cover his face, chasing a girl for 8 full minutes, and then catching her on Malibu Beach. It's obvious it's shot on Malibu Beach, and drowning her. That took another 5 minutes. Truly, it's unbelievable. Then you follow that up with a good 5 minutes of a girl ballet dancing on Malibu Beach. I mean, it's just ludicrous filler that does nothing for the film. So, but essentially, it's a guy that turns into a vampire. Now, the interesting part of all this is that William Campbell, who's probably best known as a Trouble with Tribbles, he was in the Star Trek show, and then he was also starred in Coppola's Dementia 13. He he was on vacation in Yugoslavia when he shot Operation Titian, so he wasn't. Yeah, I think they paid him peanuts. They said like $900. When he got back to the States and Corman wanted to reshoot this thing and include him, he wanted a lot more money. And that's why you see, particularly like in Track of the Vampire, it's not Bill Campbell anymore. It's some really bad stand-in for him. And I also think the transformations from the artist to the vampire, which is an entirely different actor, was done because they couldn't afford to keep bringing back Bill Campbell at what he wanted in terms of price. The only other piece of trivia I've got for this film is that Dubrovnik, Yugoslavia, is where, if you're a chess player, Bobby Fischer's favorite chess sets are made. They're made by hand, kind of like the Rolls Royce of chess sets, but it's beautiful handcrafted wooden sets come out of Dubrovnik, and it is a beautiful, beautiful place. At least, I guess, pre all the Yugoslavian wars, it's pretty. So, yeah. So that I watched all that. Then I watched there's an 80-minute featurette on this puppy, documentary about this whole mess, by Tim Lucas. And that's a fascinating documentary that goes through soup to nuts how Corman got into buying foreign films and then trying to recast the Operation Titian so he could market it, and then subsequent to that, just reversing gears and turning it into a horror movie with Bloodbath. Yeah, that was probably one of the best features about the set. And there's an interview with Sid Haig in here, as well as the director of this whole mess, Jack Hill. So anyway, I think from a historical perspective, it's not a good movie. It's 5 out of 10. I give Track of the Vampire 4 out of 10 for all the bullshit filler. But the box set's a 10 out of 10. It's a great, interesting, and informative discussion about the history of a very convoluted film production. Have one more movie to review. I'm going to stop this now since I'm almost at 15 minutes, and I'll be right back.
Monsters do have their place. In the zoo, in your nightmares, in the deep, in your favorite horror movies. But not in your living room, on your TV. Don't let pay TV be the monster in your living room. Pay TV and cable TV companies are seeking the right to charge you for the very programs you now get free. If you want to stop pay TV and save free television, sign the petition in the lobby of this theater. Let your lawmakers know how you feel in the fight against pay TV and cable TV.
Okay, I'm back. Finish up day 5 with the final film that I watched, which was Blue Sunshine. And this is the Film-Centric's limited edition release. It's gorgeous. It's it's just packed with stuff here. I'm almost afraid to open it because all this crap falls out of it. Let's see. So you've got making of booklet, which I have not had a chance to review yet. Of course, you got a DVD. You have the soundtrack. And then, yeah, here goes all the shit falling out of it. And then you've got the, well, that's in the player, but the Blu-ray. Here's the back cover artwork. Yeah. Wow, this was a crazy psychedelic 70s movie directed by Jeff Lieberman, who did Squirm and then the slasher classic Just Before Dawn. All kinds of weird crap in this thing. Just all kinds of stuff. Look at this. This is the politician in the film. So the storyline is people, your average, everyday, normal people are suffering strangely from alopecia, which is a medical term for losing all your hair, and then subsequently they go insane and start killing people. Kailman King stars in this, is the guy that's kind of wrongfully framed for these murders that are occurring because these people are taking, basically many years back in college, they took a form of LSD called Blue Sunshine. And now many years later, the results of side effects of that are alopecia followed by insanity, you know. So you've got a number of different things going on there, but it's a crazy, gory movie. You've got people getting stuffed into fireplaces. You've got some really spooky, creepy scenes on the, particularly one scene where a female's covering, watching two kids, and then the side effects are starting to hit. She starts to lose her hair, and she looks like she's going to pull a Linda Blair, and she actually does pull a Linda Blair in a lot of ways. I love the movie. It's a strange art house drive-in camp classic, and it's a fun movie. And this edition is just chock full of features, commentary tracks, all kinds of interviews. A little bit expensive in the $30 range, but well worth it. So highly recommended. So that'll wrap up day 5, and tomorrow is public domain terrors. So I've got a bunch of public domain movies I've got teed up that I'll go over when I'm finished. At any rate, thanks for watching. Appreciate it.